Welcome to Feel and Act Money. This is a podcast for expats and global movers exploring the emotional and the practical aspects of managing money internationally and with confidence.
We are Danusia and Maria. We are two immigrants from South America, from Brazil and Venezuela, and we are advocates for financial education. We are here today with you. Thank you for being here and open up for us to talk about this topic that makes many people hearts race. Thank you for being here.
Yes, and we are today joined by our second guest. If you have been following our previous episodes, this is episode number 5. And maybe you didn't know it, but secretly, Danusia and I have set a goal for ourselves to do 10 episodes, which means you're listening to our halfway of this goal. Maybe we will continue if you want us to continue, but at least we have that initial goal. And in the previous episode, episode number 4, we had our first guest and we were talking about our safety net. By the way, we have an upcoming masterclass on this topic live in Tallinn happening on the 4th of February. You're probably going to be listening to this after the fact, but if you want to do you want us to do another one of those, then you can also let us know. And if you join us, we hoped you had a lot of lessons, a lot of support from us. But yes, today we have a second guest. And if you're not watching us, you don't know yet who this is. So you're about to listen that we are joined today by an accountant and tax consultant. Her name is Kaili Virma. Hello, Kaili.
Exciting to be here with you guys.
Yes, and we haven't introduced the topic, but probably when I mention Kaili's role, you probably figure what we're talking about today, and that is taxes. Oh, taxes. Yes. Kaili, do you want to give the audience a quick intro about what you do and who you are?
Thank you, Maria. And thank you, Danusia, both of you for having me here on this podcast. I'm very excited. This is super good. Very exciting for you guys, for your journey, also for doing this. This is your
Yes.
fifth and you want to run up till 10. I hope there's
Yes.
gonna be afterwork of that later.
Yes.
But for me, I am Estonian. I'm living now back in Estonia, doing accounting and tax work for now almost, I guess, a little bit over 4 years, and helping mostly foreigners with questions of accounting, taxes, opening company, um, managing their company in Estonia by living abroad, them, and all of that above and beyond. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to be here and share and talk about the most questions that you've been having and collecting also.
Yes, we're going to have a lot of questions for you. So there's a lot of values, hopefully, for the audience. They can have a sneak peek into the work you do overall. And at the end of the episode, they can hear where they can reach out to you if they need actual more specific support in those areas. But Danusia, maybe you want to give a sneak peek to the audience on the topics we're going to cover so that they kind of look forward to what this conversation is going to be about.
Yes, I would like to highlight how Estonia is digitalized, and that gets a lot of people's attention. And we wanted to cover this as well. How is the evolution of Estonia with this one click system, this tax system that is a role model for the whole world? It's very amazing. We also want to talk about how taxes feels like a horror movie sometimes and how people are afraid of talking about them and avoiding them so badly. And also, we heard that there are some 2026 changes in Estonia for the people who live here. It's a very important topic. I think Kaili can address them very well. She's a specialist. And also, we want to talk about you guys nomads, what you should do, what you should know. You are a freelancer, how to deal with your taxes because you're always moving, and then it happens that you're probably Estonia now, what you should do, what you should be aware of. And actually, then let's talk about investments. People have a lot of questions because it's always something they think in a long term and how to deal with taxes in a long term investment account. how the magic happens. What is taxes so important in this aspect? Of course, it's a lot of information right now in the beginning, but we're gonna go step by step. So yes, thank you, Maria, for opening up.
Yeah, thank you for giving that overview and that teaser. So we're going to break it down in two parts. So the first bit is a little bit more about our experiences and opinions on the topic of taxes before we get to the, how-tos or very specific questions, and also those 2026 changes that probably many of you are wondering, what are these about? So I want us to start with the emotional part, since that's my favorite topic. And I want us, three of us, to share how do we feel about taxes in general, and if there was any point where you actually felt afraid of taxes or talking about the topic or facing it in any way. So any of you, Kylie or Danusia, want to start?
I can start. I felt afraid of taxes for a long time. And should I use the word disgust? Ugh, it's heavy.
Yes.
But I think by living in Brazil and seeing a lot of things that are not going towards the benefit of the population, you kind of have this feeling that you don't want to touch this topic. Then, okay, with time, it's something you need to face. But for my case, there was no many people around me with the relevant information. Otherwise, I need to hire someone in a company. And okay, it just got better over time with experience, with trying out and seeking for information with the right resources, the government websites, and the source of truth I had available at the time. And now I really highlight this to people I know, like, yes, get to know your taxes or rules or laws is also how you manage to get benefits of it. Not only like, of course you have your obligations, but sometimes you miss some benefits. And when I learned that key uh, aspect of taxes, then I was like, okay, I should be aware of what's coming. And nowadays I feel very comfortable, but it was a long process, I would say.
Yeah, what I'm hearing you say is that education and learning was very important in helping you not feel that scary feeling and understanding what it was about, right? Thank you for sharing that. How about your experience, Kylie?
Well, about taxes, it's as an Estonian, it hasn't been very difficult thinking before I was an accountant. So tax declarations were one button moves and just clicking there, go and submit. So it wasn't anything difficult until I got asked those things once I began doing accounting work. So then I understood actually how much uh, there was too much information and how it wasn't talked out in actual simple language to understand how things work. But to do the taxes or to understand when you're an employee for someone is much easier than when you're actually um, a business owner yourself or needing to do those things on your own.
Okay, interesting how it seems your situation was the opposite. Oh, I wasn't afraid, I just did it. It was easy. So apparently how easy or hard it is to do had a role in that. But then
Mhm.
when you learned more about it professionally, then it became like, oh, okay, I understand why people are scared of this.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I actually like that you mentioned the language, because that's actually one of the big issues with topics about finance, not only taxes, but in general. Like, there's so much language that people don't understand, and that creates kind of a distance, a fear. And so it's all about understanding, okay, what does that word mean? Where can I learn more about that? What is
Mhm.
the right source of information that I should use, as you will mention, Danusia, right? Um,
Yes.
I wanted to throw in a related question to this topic as well, which is how do you feel about cash transactions? And do you feel that when you're doing business with someone, maybe someone is doing a work for you in your house, and then they ask you, can you pay in cash? What does that make you feel? Is that good? Is that bad? Is that wrong? Is that right? Why is it so?
I don't think it's bad. I don't I don't put it in there. If it's smaller amounts, even for someone who comes to clean your house. It's an expense that you do anyway. So for you, I don't think it's bad. I think more the question there is how much we actually carry in cash right now. In Estonia, I don't own cash like that personally, but for different people and for people who are not from here, it's definitely a thing. So, but the person who receives the money, then for them, this is more of a thing, I guess. Either they are gonna declare it if it was a smaller amount, one time thing. I don't think it's needed to declare. If it's a reoccurring thing, it should be declared. At the same time, if it's for a business, definitely needs to be declared. Uh, if there's no record of it, then there's blank, obviously. So I think it's a lot to do with your heart conscious also, how transparent you are with things. And if you let one thing slide, you will probably let another thing slide. So there's a thin line there.
Okay. Okay. It's a matter of discipline and transparency. How do you feel about cash and what's your experience with it here, Danusia?
For me here in Estonia, it was never, let's say, nobody ever asked me cash. I never thought about that. I'm sorry. Estonia is it's far, like if it was Germany, yes, you should do everything in cash. But in Estonia, even
Mm.
like you're going to spend €1, you can pay with your card.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's gonna ask you cash, so I never
Yeah.
thought about this.
Okay, well, the reason why I added the question in this topic of taxes is because I've noticed that the more digitalized a nation is, the more cash becomes a thing where you can't avoid those taxes. So that's why I was asking, is this good or bad? And I've noticed that, as you were pointing out, Kylie, right? The question is for someone who's receiving it, is this a one-off thing? Is this your business? How transparent do you want to be? And I think this links back to our overall concept of taxes. How do we see them? What are they, right? And I know this
Mhm.
sounds like a very fundamental question to ask, like, what do you mean, what are taxes? But I think if we address that question, it's much easier to understand why there may be some stigmas and fears around taxes. So, professionally speaking, Kylie, how would you define taxes?
Something, I think taxes are something that doesn't belong to you. Taxes are
Okay.
something that you are obviously going to give away. That's amount of money, amount of things you're going to give away because you're able to get the benefits based on that. You're able to enjoy that as part of your life. Simply or like thinking to put it, I would put it that way.
Okay. And if we were to put it from like, an official perspective, why do taxes exist?
Hmm. I think someone wanted to benefit, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Someone thought, how would be the legal way of benefiting from living your life?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's my opinion.
Okay, we're not going to go into the history of taxes, but I think
Yes.
when we start understanding, right, that taxes are something we pay to the government, and
Mhm.
government is made of people who's doing public work, right? Work that we'll benefit from, right? What are taxes usually for? They're used for public spending. It's a way for the government to collect money. That's it, right? There's several ways in which the government can collect money, and taxes is one of them. And why do they need that money? For hospitals, for roads, for public servant salaries, and whatnot, right?
Exactly.
And
Hmm.
I think it's something that we need to think about when we think about demanding from our politicians certain jobs, right? Like when we're like, okay, this is what I expect from a politician, why? And this is why I'm paying to this government. Why? Right? When we start feeling like we're a part, and this is my personal opinion, that we're part of a greater thing, then we understand our role in contributing to that. I know you didn't want to scare people away, Kylie, but I wanted people to think about that. And I know your goal is trying to have people understanding in a more kind of friendly way. But I think it's also good that we, cross that threshold thinking
Mhm.
about things not just from our individual perspective of why do I benefit or how, or someone is being greedy and they just want to grab money, but look at it from a system perspective. What is the system? How does it work? And what is my role in the system, right? And that's where taxes play a role. But yeah, should we move to the other couple of questions related to taxes in Estonia specifically?
Let's go.
Sure, go
Let's go. I'm
ahead.
excited.
Yeah. So maybe any mistakes that we have made with taxes in the past, some oopsie daisy, I didn't know that's how it was. Maybe it was I missed on a benefit. Maybe I did something wrong. And how did we learn and correct about it? Any experiences you can recall on sort of tax mistakes?
Think the most is the tax-free income tax benefit that the government offers, and not knowing how to use that is one thing that we could do, that we could say those, oops, I didn't know, because that's one way to also benefit, because doing those personal tax declarations, for example, is a way of declaring everything that happened for the past year, your incomes. And then there's part of your that are exceptions. For example, something that you can actually get money back, like donations. And so, and then the income tax, the tax-free income tax benefit, that used to be 654 euros. To use that wisely, for example, having your employer pay you a little bit less, but paying all income taxes. So, for example, you don't personally need to pay more income tax later. And a lot of people don't know about this, and they figure it out too late when they actually do the tax declaration. Then they find out they need to pay extra income tax because they received money from abroad of their freelance work, and they didn't know that they can use one employer to help to pay already income
Yeah.
tax. So even if it's not a oopsie daisy moment, it might be like a moment of awareness happening.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And we're going to get into the nitty-gritty details
Mm.
of how that new income tax exemption or benefit works, right? And maybe it's good if we stop a little bit in those words as well: exemption versus declaration versus tax payment versus deferral, right? One of my oopsie daisy moments was when I realized I could have started investing when I was younger and get some benefit on when I had to pay taxes, which meant I could have kept an amount of money that would multiply for longer, but I didn't start on time when I realized back then. I think the year limit was 26. I'm not sure if that's the case in Estonia, but like before I turned 26, I could have some sort of investment account that allowed me to defer or postpone. But because investing was such a scary topic, almost as scary as taxes, and it took me so long to get started that I missed on those opportunities because I was too old already. And so, if you're listening to this and you're a young person in your 20s, I recommend find out what is worth about starting to invest young from a tax perspective. There's other reasons, which is the longer you are in the game, the more benefits. But because we're talking about taxes, that is one oopsie daisy that I'm like, oh, if I had just started younger, I could have sort of experienced a little bit more earnest, so to say. What's your oopsie daisy, Danusia?
Well, I don't think I have one. Sorry. I'm thinking here, because I'm very practical, and since I got interested in the topic, I was reading what I need, and I was already like, I'm ready to declare my taxes. And I was investing, like when I learned I could invest, I was investing and I'm ready. I know. I just go to a tax advisor to see if I'm complying with the form or like the format I'm declaring. But I gather all the information. I'm like, okay, not that I know, maybe I will learn something now in Estonia. I don't
Yeah.
have a family too. I know that people who has kids, they have certain benefits they don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was leaving Germany, if I there was something that if you work from home, then you get the square meter of the room you're working, like your home office, and then
Mm-hmm.
you can put in your form, and then you get a refund. They calculate as per that square meter, and this
Mm-hmm.
I learned, and this I was doing as well. Like I work
Okay.
from home, I put this here, so they also gave benefits and how much you spend to like move to work. I forgot how is it called actually in English, but basically they pay you, they return some money that you spend or with gas or a pub or transportation to get it to work. And I was applying this benefit as well when I was doing my tax declaration.
Yeah.
So yeah, so far I'll probably learn for Kylie this year because my previous um, the previous times I declared taxes in Estonia, I did on my own, and I kind of miss someone to guide me through. We even talk
Mm-hmm.
about this. I was like, Kylie, maybe I need your help this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I will learn something new for sure. I'm sure.
And then again, I mean, in this podcast, we're about two things: the practical side and the emotional side. And there's a reason why you're the practical side of this podcast. Like, no, I didn't make any mistakes. I read about it. I learned. I asked for an advisor, and that's it. Like, you're
That's
probably
it.
one in a million that I know went for a tax advisor, um, right away. Like, oh, there must be an expert that knows about this. While everyone else is like, oh my god, what should I do? I don't understand this. This is very scary. So yeah, Danusia is definitely the practical mind in this side of our podcast. Okay, so just a little bit of a heads up. We are about to get into the very specific changes of 2026 and into all those nitty gritty details. So let's start now with this practical deep dive section. And Kylie, we're gonna take it all apart and break it, step by step. So first of all, there's a reason why this is a good time to talk about this. Can we talk a little bit about the tax calendar in Estonia? What are like the important dates to keep in mind when thinking about taxes if you're a resident in Estonia?
Well, the most important is the personal tax declaration, a little bit that I mentioned before. That usually opens from 15th of February until the 30th of April. So this is something that you as a person declare for the past year. In this case, we'll be declaring for the 2025 your income, whatever you earned in Estonia is there. We don't need to go in details of that. Then next important is the annual report. If you have a company, if you're a resident and you have a company, that needs to be submitted by June 30th. And then we have those monthly things that are 10th of the month of every month for your salary declaration and the 20th of the month that are your VAT declarations. These dates are the most important that affect you as a person or you as a company, that you should be
Okay.
aware
If you miss any of them, remember you can rewind.
I had a question about the VAT declaration though.
of. Mhm.
Like you have a monthly deadline. It's for people who have business owners. Is that for freelancers or for employers or employees?
Mhm. This is for when you have a company or have a company in Estonia or you or FIE or anything like that, and you have registered yourself as a VAT company. So these declarations happen monthly. Like every month, you declare for the past month. So that's how that works.
Interesting.
Okay.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
So we covered two important groups of dates: those for the personal income tax declaration and those
Mhm.
for anyone who has a company. And we've covered, although we didn't initially plan, I think it's important that we also briefly stop on the different types of tax where high level touching. So there's income tax and there's VAT, right? So income tax is any tax we have to pay on whatever income we receive, and VAT, value added tax, maybe some general high level points to keep in mind about VAT in Estonia.
Mm. In Estonia, it's made it easier for you. So when you go to supermarket or you purchase anything from a store, usually it already has VAT on it. So this is a yes or yes to you anyway, as a private
Mm-hmm.
person or as a company.
Mm-hmm.
That's a yes or yes to you that you need to pay. So it's already added there. I know some countries, maybe it was in states, that you pay it separately.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it could be in Estonia it's all together. So if your bill in the supermarket is 20 euros, then you can already see it has the VAT separation, but it's all included in the total price. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what do companies need to know about VAT if you're a business
Mhm.
owner?
If you are a business owner, then VAT, if you are not a VAT company and your client or wherever you're purchasing stuff is a VAT company, then the VAT on it or in it, however you want to call it, is a cost for you. You're gonna have to pay for that. If your company is a VAT company, this means that you get to ask this VAT that you pay back with the same tax declaration that I mentioned before that happens monthly.
Mm-hmm.
And the same how it's a sale for them wherever you're purchasing. If you
Mm-hmm.
are a VAT company, whatever you sell is also needing to have VAT.
Mm-hmm.
If you're selling in Estonia and you're a VAT company, all your sales must have VAT on it. If you're selling for abroad, depends to what country, depends if it's in EU or if it's outside, if it's a product or if it's a service. So
Mm-hmm.
so
Okay.
there
So
need to go a little bit more detail. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So we're not going to go into the details, but if you do have a company, you're just starting a company, you're in Estonia, and you're not sure whether you should be paying VAT or not, or if you're doing business with different countries and you're not sure, Kylie is your go-to person. And again, we're going to be sharing contacts at the end of the episode, and also in the text description, you will find details. Um, Danusa, shall we move into the income tax questions, maybe?
Oh yes, let's go to those. Yes, we know that now it's I think pretty much everyone is aware, but maybe most people don't understand what it is. But everyone is talking about it that the government's giving free exemption, 700 euros this year for um in Estonia. So if you're Estonia resident, right? And I just want to ask you, like, how can you explain this to people who are listening, like in the easiest way?
Mhm.
What is that for? How they can take advantage of it? Who are the ones qualified for that exemption?
Let's start with the last one. Who is qualified? Everyone who is a taxed resident in Estonia. So it doesn't just mean that you are resident in Estonia that you can use this, but it's a tax resident. Unfortunately, these things you gotta apply separately, which means that you have spent 183 days in Estonia in a year period, and you become a tax resident. It doesn't happen automatically, like I said. Fortunately, no one is tracking that. So you need to submit an application. It's very easy application to submit online, and you become a resident. So with that, your employer will know that you are a tax resident. Also, this will then reflect on your salary taxes, and then you can use the benefit of this 700, which is from this year. And they made it so that it's for everyone. It can only be for one employer. So if you work in two places, only one place of that can use it. But it means that this 700 euros is a tax free from whatever your salary will be, and the rest of that is taxed with income tax, meaning that we pay less income tax, and you receive more in your netto, we say net salary.
So does it mean like let's give an example. If someone
Mhm.
has a gross income of 2,000 euros Then,
Mhm.
if you apply the exemption, they will just pay the income tax out of 1,300 euros. Is that right? How is the
Well, there's a
math?
little bit
Like,
more
just,
taxes there,
yeah,
but
but
the idea is correct. Let's take it easier. Let's take that you're supposed to receive 1,000 euros net. That means that the 700 of that is tax free, and the 300 euros is only taxed with income tax. That is 22%. So that example could be better to look at, because if coming down from gross, you have pension fund, and you have unemployment insurance, and then you have the income tax. So it's a little bit difficult to go from there.
amazing. I like you touch that because I know I also be in touch with other people here who are like, yes, I have this free tax amount, but I still, the calculations is still going towards my paycheck for the whole amount. Yes, because it's separated. You have other type of taxes, which will be taken in consideration. So we are just talking about the income tax. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. And coming from that, for like such a big topic that everyone talks about, I also think about the ones who just got in Estonia. So I just arrived in Estonia. I'm hearing this. Everyone is talking about that. What should I know? What should I do? I'm coming with my family, my wife, my spouse, my kids. Is there
Mhm.
anything you would advise for the people who are moving now to Estonia this year they should be aware of? And what is your advice for them?
Very good question. Well, I would suggest to reach out to Estonian tax department, which we call EMTA. They also do these consultations to ask. Also, in Estonia, a lot of things work on recommendations. So if you know someone, you should ask them, hey, who should I talk to about taxes or numbers in Estonia? Where do I get paid? How does the system work? Because depending where you're coming from, the systems are so different. So you're coming with one mindset or one thinking, which is totally understandable and acceptable, but it might not work the same way. So to get some consultations or some kind of mini workshop even to understand how things work, what do I need to know of, and etc.
Yeah, that's a good advice. I think not everyone is aware how Estonia is very driven to this type of transparency, right? Especially from such public organizations. And yes, you can talk, they will answer you. And as Kylie said, if you look for the tax department in Estonia, which is one only, can you repeat again the name? Did I get it right?
EMTA. EMTA.
EMTA. Yes,
Yes.
thank you. Then you can find people who will guide you through your new journey in
Mhm.
your new home. But
Yes.
also, Kai, thank you so much for clarifying. There are some people who do the opposite. They leave the country. Let's say they leave the country and they will leave for 6 months. I don't know. They'll have a sabbatical. They will take a break. They will work abroad for many reasons. And there is also this confusion if they should stop paying taxes here because they are not in Estonia
Mhm.
physically. What is that? What you can say about that?
I would like to say for your safety, it's better to calculate your days and see if you are looking to live someplace else. So you change your tax residency. Maybe you find a country that the taxes are much less, or income taxes is nothing, or whatever could be the reason, to make sure that it doesn't matter that you leave the country and then you come back and you're thinking that for that period I'm going to pay my taxes someplace else. It actually doesn't work that way. So then you need to know that when you come back to Estonia, you still, for the same year, if you're a tax resident in Estonia, you still need to declare those things here. Even if you 3 months you were in, I don't know, Portugal, and you earn money there, and maybe you paid some taxes there because, I don't know, maybe it's a thing. then in Estonia, you declare that still. You show that you earned this and you paid this taxes there. So then the system calculates and helps you calculate that it's not the total amount that you gotta pay taxes in Estonia. So,
Mhm.
so there won't be this double taxation also.
Nice,
Right.
nice. I
Can
hear
I
you.
can I elaborate a little bit
Yeah,
on that
yeah,
same
you can.
example? So what if we have someone that they is 2025 and they spent 3 months in Estonia and they were 9 months somewhere else
Mhm.
in one single country. I don't know, they were in Spain for 9 months and they were
Amazing.
3 months in Estonia. Are they a tax resident of what in that situation?
Mhm. I think depending on if they changed their tax residency to Spain, I think that's the most important. Because if they live there, Spain also probably has some rules about staying there more than X amount of days, making them tax residents there. So I think that's very important point to look into, where you spend your time, and if it's um, because we want to be nomads most of the time and travel everywhere and be everywhere and not be tax residents anywhere. And I've
Mm-hmm.
seen cases of that also, that people have lived not enough time to become tax residents in different
Mm-hmm.
countries. So at the end, some country will ask them, but where are your tax residency? And it's difficult to say nowhere, because you need to have a place still
Mm-hmm.
somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, it might bring up issues that you didn't know about, or no one thought it will go that far. So
Mm-hmm.
with the Spain, I think it's important to know some of the rules, or ask someone even randomly, how many days do I need to be here?
Mm-hmm.
Or how many days I shouldn't be here to become
Mm-hmm.
a tax resident, or something that will affect your stay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because tax residency is literally of those days calculated.
Okay, so what I understood is that depending on the country, the rules of what means to be a tax resident will be different. So in the case of Estonia, is if within a calendar year you lived at least what,
83, 183.
183 days. But you mentioned a very interesting case, which is someone that goes around traveling, lives in many countries, and never stays long enough in any of them to become a tax resident. So there's two questions I have about that. They
Hmm.
might encounter some sort of trouble. I think I have an idea of what that might be, but I would love to hear it from the examples you've seen. And two, do they have the option to choose to become tax resident of any of those countries, even if they're not spending enough time? Can I say, I want to be a tax resident of Estonia, which is one of the
Hmm.
7 countries I spent a year traveling and living in between?
Hmm. Uh, there, the reason to become is your residency. If you have a TRP, temporary residency permit, permanent residency permit, anything like that in those countries that you've traveled, uh, that might be your first like go-to for a tax residency. Hmm.
But if you don't, if you're like living 2 months here and 3 months there and 3 months there, what might be
It
the
might be
challenge for a
difficult.
person like
Hmm.
that?
Yeah, the challenge is when the tax department, if you want to claim something in some country, then the department has the right to ask you your tax residency, or where you've declared your last declarations and things like that. So if you don't have that, there needs to be then, the last case that I worked with was that the person had to ask the last year countries where they lived, all the proof of that tax declarations that she didn't submit, that were zero, to submit to the tax department here in Estonia. So then the tax department uh, has the right to say, we accept them, but you're earning a lot of money and you're not declaring it anywhere. Probably we cannot be sure you declare them in Estonia either. So that might put you in some of the troubles on, uh, I don't know, opening a bank account, getting something done in Estonia.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta be a
Okay.
little bit careful
So,
of that.
so we go a little bit back to that initial question of like, why are taxes important? Why do they exist? And apparently, what I'm getting from this is that If you want to be a digital nomad and really travel everywhere, it could be an issue if you're not declaring taxes anywhere. Because if you're not contributing financially to
Hmm.
any territory, then how can you get something back, right? That's what I'm reading from
Exactly.
here. Maybe let's talk a little bit in general about what might be some of the benefits that might encourage someone to open a business as a foreigner in Estonia from a tax perspective. What could be the main motivations or reasons why it is a good idea to open a business in Estonia from a tax perspective?
Hmm. Don't know if there is a tax, like literally tax perspective, besides being the company's employee, getting the benefits of Estonian health system, pension fund. These things are big motivators also for your, if you're if you're in a temporary residency permit, or you're wanting to go full on permanent residency permit. These things could be a good indicators also to help you, because you have paid taxes, you have received a salary, uh, you have settled in Estonia. So these could be some things that could definitely help you with that. Also in Estonia, so far, we don't have the profit tax on your company, which means the money that you earn to your company is not taxed with profit tax at the end of the year, which is a thing in other countries. What also could be is some of the benefits that you can have when you are employee in your company and you own a company. For example, a health compensation. If you need to use your personal car for work, there's a tax-free limit there that you can pay yourself back with having a diary where you note up everything. Um, and doing business or being a freelancer in Estonia and owning a company, I think it's easier to do business that way. To have a brand or to show brings more trust when you're doing business between business.
Mm-hmm. If you're choosing to open a company, right? Let's say I'm my business, I have my permanent residence, I've been an employee, and I'm ready to go uh, down the path of entrepreneurship. And I need to open a company. How should I know what type of company I should open that is, that is advantageous from a tax perspective if I'm not sure yet how well my business is going to do?
I think best way to start from is getting a consultation from someone, telling your
Mhm.
whole story, what you're looking
Okay.
for, what you want to do, what are some of the numbers that you could think of that you're going to do business with,
Mm-hmm.
and also considering options. Maybe you don't need to open a company, for example, or even a FIE. Maybe you can start with those entrepreneur accounts that
Mm-hmm.
are now in the market, so you
Mm-hmm.
can still earn income. Your earnings will be taxed, but all the money is for you to use, which means
Mm-hmm.
that you're one step already easier to do everything.
Mm-hmm. So there might be things some of our listeners are not familiar with. And you've mentioned three things. Maybe we should
Mhm.
break them down. What is
Yeah.
OÜ? What is FIE? And what is this entrepreneur account?
Mhm. So OÜ is a normal Estonian private limited company, we call it. It's called LLC, probably in some other countries. In Estonia, it's called OÜ.
Mm-hmm.
Difficult to pronounce, don't worry. We came up with the best two letters to pronounce.
Not at all.
So that is a company that is very, very normal, very business friendly to open and to use. You can have employees there. You don't need to. You can also manage it just earning income and using it for expenses that are business related. Um, uh, the other part that I mentioned was FIE, FIE.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a physical person, like a company. This is managed a little bit differently, which means that your social tax is calculated from day one. A lot of people don't know this when they open this FIE, because there's no information about that, that from day one you're going to be taxed on social tax, which is just for you to have social tax covered, so you can have the health insurance, and etc. But a lot of freelancers don't know this, and it's calculated, it's taxed quarterly. So if you reach that quarter and you see, oh, I need to pay this, and you don't know where did it came from, you haven't even earned income, it's going to be a little bit hurtful.
Okay, so it's not calculated based on income.
No, FIE has a social tax that is calculated per day from starting.
Okay.
And it's the minimum social tax calculation happens there. The income that you earn within a year, that's taxed, or actually not the income, but the profit, like income minus expenses. The profit is taxed. And then, but VA is also common that people use because they want to do fast business. You can be a VA with the VAT number also. It's
Mm-hmm.
easy if you need a social security. That's maybe the most reasons of having one, so you can
Mm-hmm.
have the social security covered. And you're doing your daily business there. The rest of the money is for you to use. Something like that. And then the
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur's account, the third one,
Mm-hmm.
that is getting to be quite known right now in Estonia. So that one is, I think, LHV is the bank who is promoting that mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an account that already collects your income tax from your earnings. So this is a private person having an entrepreneur's account. It's something like you're doing some crafts, or even
Mm-hmm.
you're selling a service that you are doing, and that money goes into that account. LHV takes the taxes, so you don't need to deal with them or even think about them, and the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the money is for you to use. So just to make a little bit of your life easier, but not charging you too much of tax, not taking social tax from you. So the levels like that.
So it's less bureaucratic than a fee or an OU, as I understand.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but then depending on what business, is it a side gig? Is it where are you going to be your customers? It will depend the specifics on your situation. But there are more options than those three, aren't there?
Yes, there are other options like unions.
Mm-hmm.
There is non-profits that also are quite common in Estonia. We have aktiaselts, which is the shared companies that
Mm-hmm.
are very big companies.
Mm-hmm. Conglomerates, I guess, or like
Mhm.
multiple companies as part of one. All right. Well, again, if you have a very specific question on your particular situation, you know who you can turn to for this. What other questions do we want to ask Kylie before we start wrapping up? We don't want to squeeze too much out of you. Don't worry,
Yes.
just the high level things. Hopefully.
Poor
I'm
Kylie.
still alive.
Yes.
Kylie, I do have a question. Actually, it's not, it's more like, can you explain to people who are listening to us how Estonia has done this amazing job to make taxes simple, fast?
Mhm.
It's not complicated at all to declare taxes. It's something that Estonians may take for granted, but for us, it's like, what? I just need to press a button and then my taxes are done. Can you talk about this? This is so amazing. And also, if you could cover a little bit of E-Residency, like which
Mhm.
are the people who can have a residency in Estonia and then not being here physically, maybe.
Mhm.
I'm just putting out here. I can be wrong. I'm always learning something from you. So please, can you talk about those things to us to clarify?
Yes. Yeah, sure. So the first thing you mentioned was the tax declaration. This is the
Mm-hmm.
personal tax declaration. Yes, it's funny because it's a one button thing. If you are a resident in Estonia, tax resident in Estonia, and your employer is an Estonian company, then most likely everything is already in the system, like the same EMTA page. How the Estonian companies need to declare on a monthly basis, like I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, it's already in the same system. So whatever gets declared on your name, and whenever you open the tax declaration on your own, you could already see the company that paid you, how much they paid you. If there's different companies, it will be already there. If there's something extra that you earned, yes, that needs to be added. But if it's as simple as that, you earned the income, you donated, you gave your data somewhere, it's already in the system. So yes, you click next and you can check your data and then you click submit. So so that part
Yes.
is quite easy. Mhm.
And when you mention there is virtually, because you know a lot of countries is still do this by paper, by letter. So it's important to people to
Mm,
visualize how you guys are safe with data as well. Like how our data are safe in this country that you can, like the government
yes,
can even just send a notification that you should do your taxes and like access digitally and get it done. Like in
Yes.
y-
5 minutes. I
yes,
don't know. It's
yes.
very
It's
fast.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Also, how we now need to be aware of scammers and everything. You gotta double check those things, because I see more and more now how EMTA is taking the caution. Every time you log into the system, it's there. Please be aware of scammers. Like, don't open everything. Don't pay anyone. EMTA doesn't say send out these type of letters, or so you gotta like keep an eye on that. And if you're
You
doubting,
won't
it's
get a letter
always
in
better to
Estonia.
call.
It's good that you brought this up because, yes, scams are growing. Scammers are becoming more sophisticated in how they do these. So don't click on anything that you receive, especially if it has to do with your money.
Yes,
And I
yes,
think
be
it's
careful.
mostly because we are digital.
Hmm.
Everything is on your phone, your smart ID, your mobile ID, and I think it's just taking advantage of that, and you gotta be careful with that. So yes, I'm
Yes,
glad we
yes.
touched that also.
Yes, yes. And
Amazing.
and it's interesting because, yes, the benefit of having everything digital, which is why we were talking earlier about why we don't need cash. Everything's digital, all transactions, who paid to who, what cars, what
Mhm.
invoice transfers or whatever. And that makes all of those government processes a lot more easier for each of us as individuals, residents, citizens, or whatever. But it has opened up that window of this a bunch of people are very digitalized. Let's take advantage of that. So yeah, there will always be someone being creative for the wrong purposes. But yeah, I think I just want to touch on one more topic, which is so when we talk about investments, taxes get mentioned a lot in terms of like, oh, but if I earn this, I'm going to have to pay for that. Can I defer that? Is this allowed? Is this
Mhm.
not allowed? So I think one of the reasons why in the past people talked about opening a business in Estonia was because they wanted to get advantages from the fairing tax if they were investing. But then the government was super smart and they created an option for individuals to
Mhm.
be able to invest without having to create a business and still be able to defer taxes. So, can we briefly talk about the what is that difference between having to declare, defer, and pay income tax that is not coming from your employer, but maybe income you're receiving from um, uh, investment in the stock market or maybe
Mhm.
from a rental room that you have? How does
Mhm.
that work?
Yeah. So everything you earn outside of your employers needs to be added to the system. There are platforms already, the Estonian ones, that are linked with EMTA, with the tax department page for your tax declaration. So that data immediately gets to there. And whatever is external, wherever you invest, all that needs to be then added to the system, either with the file or with the um, uh, copy paste on the specific columns, or manually, like one by one, needs to be added there. And those investments need to be declared once you sell them. So there, if you didn't sell anything in 2025, you're not going to add it to the system, because in the system you add what was the amount when you bought it, and what was the gains of when you sold it. So then the system will calculate these things and add to the system. Hmm.
And I think that brings me back to something very interesting you mentioned when we were talking about tax residency in different countries and businesses and being taxed on profits. Because I've also heard that some countries tax you on the wealth that you have. So if
Hmm.
you have an investment, but you didn't sell it, which is a very specific clarification you made here, if you sold it, you will declare it as a transaction for the year when you sold it, and you will show that difference. But if you haven't sold it, you don't have to worry about that at that point. Now, in some countries, if you own it, it doesn't matter if you sold it, you do have to declare it all the time, which makes investment a little bit of a bigger friction. So can you tell us that example, maybe a couple of examples that you've heard about profit tax when you have a business in other countries, which is not a thing in Estonia? Again, it's all about seeing the benefits we have from a tax
Hmm.
perspective here in Estonia. So what is that tax on profits in a business?
In a business, not personal. Yeah.
Yes, in a business,
Hmm.
like profit
Uh,
tax.
so in Estonia, like I mentioned, we don't have that. The earnings, if you're a VAT company, that's taxed, but the profit, that's a different thing. I know that there's a countries that have profit tax on on your profit, which could
Mm-hmm,
be that they don't have income tax, they have a profit tax, or maybe they
mm-hmm,
have both. It could be whatever percent that is, 20%, 5%, 2%.
mm-hmm,
It's on your earnings. But I
mm-hmm,
also know that, for example, thinking of Latin America, that they have the profit tax in one of their countries, like a Chile, but the money inside the company is much more free flow. You can use that money as an owner. You can use that money that
mm-hmm,
is in the company,
mm-hmm,
and that goes down as a cost, for example, salary or anything that you do that way. But then you have the profit tax. So somewhat the taxes are different there.
mm-hmm.
So
So the
in
benefit is
Estonia.
shifted in
Hmm.
that we're more strict here in how do you use the company funds, and
Hmm.
there's more freedom there in that particular
Yeah,
example. But then we don't have a profit tax here, and there's a profit tax there. So kind of the benefit shifts to another part of the operations. Yeah.
you took it together perfectly. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
And Kylie, I take the opportunity to ask you, think that might be the reason why Estonia is becoming so popular now for e-residency, or am I going
Mhm.
too far? Can you give a brief just about this topic? What is it and what are advantages or what people should know?
Yes. E-residency, it's been going for years now, that it's attracting foreigners to come to Estonia to open their business here, to do business. That's for the e-residency purpose. The other purpose for e-residencies is also that when you are on a visa or nomad and you would like to do a contract renting something in Estonia, it's so important to have an ID code. And with the visa, you don't get it. So having this e-residency will give you the ID code that is so important for to sign contracts, have the digital signing that we actually love and appreciate, because that's like the most legal thing ever. Like it's opened so much
Yes.
doors. You can just apply as a foreigner.
Amazing. That's what I was about to say, that you don't need to have actually like a visa here or
Hmm.
right, or like a temporary residence permit. Is just something that the government offers, and it's important if you want to do business. As Estonia is very digital, then you need the digital signature. You need to make things flow quickly so then you can get more
Hmm.
business going. And it's really interesting how this country operates. I really admire this, really.
And I
Mhm.
think it's also easier because how we now make jokes of this. For Estonians, it's we don't go to the offices, or so many offices don't exist now. For foreigners, it depending where you're from, but it's always you go to an office, you go to a place to talk to someone, and when there doesn't exist an office, we're so digitalized is that everything is online, and you need to look for it or ask for it, and you will find it, obviously. But um, having this e-residency or whatever we're promoting here now, it just gives you, even not to go to Estonia, just to have the e-residency and open a company. You can totally do it from abroad.
Nice.
This is if you
Amazing.
want to be a very practical person. If you want to make friends going to an official government office, you're not going to be able to do that in Estonia.
Yes.
Probably
Just
not.
know that.
I love the practical side. I love it.
Yes, yes. All right, but thank you so much. I think we can start wrapping up. We've asked you plenty of questions. We could ask you many, many
Mhm.
more, but we don't want to do that to you right now.
It's okay. I've survived so far. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for answering to all of our questions and
Mhm.
curiosities. And maybe share with people where can they find you if they want your professional help in terms of Estonian taxes or accounting in your business.
Mhm. It's easy to find me in LinkedIn. You search for Kaili Virma. I'm there. Another thing, you can send me an email, tere@kailivirma.com. You can come through my office co-working space in Pärnu 22 if you're in Estonia. Um, and yes, I will be happy to help and guide you on your journey of whatever you're dealing with in Estonia.
And if you're worried about how to write any of that, don't worry. We add the links and the email address and all of that in the episode description.
Mhm. Thank you, Maria, for that.
Thank you, Kylie, for being here today. The conversation was so good. I love it to hear from you, to learn more. I just learned a lot of new things, and I'm so happy you could be here today with us. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you like what you're listening in Feel and Act Money, remember you can listen to the rest of our episodes in Substack, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can even watch us in YouTube if you want to see our pretty faces. And we really hope you're getting value and education from us. So remember to feel money, but not only, also act on it. And see you in the next episode.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.